At Wind River Resort and Casino, we like to celebrate life's little moments. Oh, and the big ones too, because around here, when you're completely in the moment, that's when the magic happens. Come in and find your moment at Wind River Resort and Casino.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Krueger, watching Coffee with Krueger every weekday morning right here on Weather NorCal. And this is a look at the camera up in Modoc County, extreme northern Modoc County. This was Saturday night, early Sunday morning. Now take a look at this. I'm going to go ahead and put this into motion. If you look closely, you'll see some colors in there. Then you can see as we got closer to sunrise, look at those colors. Look at that. It really began to kind of take light. And then once the sun came out, made for a beautiful sunrise, you can see that we saw a nice sunrise. So again, there's a look at the northern lights. One last time, take another look at that. I mean, absolutely gorgeous. Now again, that wasn't last night. That wasn't this morning. That was Saturday night and Sunday morning. So I just thought I'd kind of show you that and kind of get you going on with that. So what happened was yesterday really is the geomagnetic storm you may have been hearing about. And actually the peak of the storm hit during the day yesterday. And unfortunately, by the time we got into the overnight hours, the storm had really weakened and we didn't get much of a show last night. So the main show for us, if you look to the northern horizon, we were able to see those northern lights like we did see, but unfortunately last night and this morning, it wasn't quite as spectacular and we don't have any more heading our way, at least at this point. So hopefully you got a chance to see it. If not, then you got to see it right here on Coffee with Krueger from that camera. And by the way, if you want to check out that video, you should go to my Facebook page and I have it posted up there as well. So be sure to check that out. In the meantime, let's say we get you to Krueger's Quickcast here for your Monday, June 2nd. Yes, it's the first Monday of June. And after getting through that heat wave this past weekend, we're going to cool things off a little bit here this week. However, gusty north winds this morning are keeping temperatures quite warm actually this morning. Upper 70s for the north and mid to upper 70s for the north and west side of the valley. Winds are calmer, they're weaker as you head to the south towards Willows, Chico, and Oroville, where temperatures there are around 60. Now for the mountains, we got mainly in the 40s and mid to upper 40s along the coast. All right, so here's your forecast as you're heading out the door this morning. So I do expect those temperatures probably somewhere in the upper 70s, really, for the valley. And then you can see in the 50s for most of the higher elevations in the coast, although Trinity County Eastern Mountains around 60 for that temperature. So you see the big arc in the clouds, that's off over the eastern Pacific. That's the heat that we'll be dealing with this week. That's going to stay put. That's going to stay there pretty much all week long. In the meantime, you look to the south. See all the clouds? See the showers and thunderstorms there? That area of low pressure is working with, in conjunction with the ridge of high pressure over the eastern Pacific. And you can still, and you can see here that that's going to give us those gusty winds. Can still hear audio. A little curious, Curtis Brown. I just saw it kind of confused me a little bit. You're saying, oh, can still hear audio from the lights. I guess maybe from my lights? I don't know, but you say it's okay now. Interesting. There must have been some kind of interference. Maybe it was the northern lights. I don't know. Okay, anyway, high pressure to our west, low pressure to our south. That's going to give us the gusty winds here for today. So as a result, there actually is a red flag warning until 8 o'clock tonight due to the fact that we've got gusty winds and low humidity. Not to mention the fact that it's going to be another hot day out there. Look at the winds right now. This is what I was talking about. That's why it's in the upper 70s for places like Redding and even Red Bluff. But you head to the south, out towards Willows and Chico, look at the winds there. Much calmer. And that's why it's cooler there. Also, very gusty winds along the coast too. And that's the reason why if you look off over the ocean, stronger winds, there is actually a gale warning, or excuse me, a hazardous seas warning for today and tomorrow. But let's take a look at the winds here for today. Midday, afternoon, we're still seeing the winds actually die down. So I think the winds will be strongest this morning in the valley. They'll subside, but still gusty nonetheless, especially for the north end of the valley. But look at the coast. I mean, you're still seeing those gusts 20, 25 miles an hour. All right, now we're going to take you into tomorrow morning. And those winds still fairly strong, 15, 20, 25 miles per hour in the valley. Not as strong for the coast, but there still is going to be that hazardous seas warning through the day on Tuesday. So kind of a friendly reminder. I haven't really talked about this a whole lot so far this season because, well, we've just kind of started the fire season here. Don't drive on dry grass. Secure those chains. If you have chains from pulling a trailer, make sure those chains aren't scraping the ground. Never toss cigarettes on the ground. Ugh. Shouldn't smoke anyways, right? But if you do smoke, don't toss them out your window. Really? Number one, it's a fire hazard. Number two, it's trash. You're littering. Bottom line, you're littering. Use grills on gravel or a paved surface. That's also very important. Mow your lawn early in the morning and when it's not windy. So if it's early in the morning and it's windy, nope, don't mow. Don't even think about it. Never leave fires unattended and always properly extinguish those fires as well. Again, this is all common sense. We know this. This is something we drill into you every year. It's always just that friendly reminder, because the more we drill it into your brain, the more it stays there and the more you think about it. All right, temperatures in the upper 90s, about 100 degrees for most of us in the valley, although you head to the south, not quite as hot. Now for the mountains, 80s. Places like Aden, some of those higher elevations, struggling to get out of the 70s, but barely, right? You're talking 78 for Aden, 79 Tennant, Tule Lake about 78, and there you can see Alturas about 80. But look at Weaverville, look at Hayfork, you're at 95, 90 in Ruth, mid-90s inland for Willow Creek and Hoopa. Along the coast, mid-60s. No big surprises there. Tonight, we're dropping down into the mid-60s, and really, the winds, if they don't die down a whole lot for tonight, they might even be warmer than that, especially for the north and west side of the valley. We'll see. Temperatures in the 40s for the higher elevations and around 50 for the coast later on tonight. All right, so here's a look at your 7-day forecast for the valley. Well, there you have it. Redding, Red Bluff, upper 90s, about 100 degrees through Friday, over 100 degrees by the weekend. And Chico, more like the mid to upper 90s through Friday, and then a little over 100 degrees for Saturday and Sunday. For the coast, mid-60s and then upper 60s by the weekend. You can see the inland areas, upper 80s to low 90s, mid to upper 90s by the weekend. And for Trinity County, low to mid 90s through Friday, upper 90s to about 100 degrees by Saturday, Sunday. And by the way, notice the word I've got the chance in there for Sunday. I am anticipating that this week we will see the potential for afternoon showers and thunderstorms in the Sierra to our south. Some of those may work their way up into our region by Sunday, Monday, into Tuesday of next week. Not guaranteed, but it's a trend that I'm seeing. So I'm going to at least just give you a heads up that we have the potential for not only scattered showers, but maybe even thunderstorms in some of the higher elevations. And lightning strikes, now we're getting that time of the year. We want to stay away from those lightning strikes. But you can kind of see again for Siskiyou County, mid 80s through Friday, low 90s by the weekend. For Modoc County, upper 70s, low 80s. By the weekend, upper 80s, low 90s. And for the Eastern Mountains, Susanville in particular, mid to upper 80s through Friday. Friday a little bit warmer, and then mid 90s by Saturday and Sunday. All right, that's a look at Krueger's Quickcast. If that's all you needed, hey, have a great day. I hope you do. But stick around if you want a deeper dive forecast. We're going to kind of go into what we expect this week. Take a closer look at the fire weather risk, the works. Let's take a look at some cameras, though, as we transition into the deeper dive forecast. You can see just a beautiful start to the day. You got fairly calm winds here for Lake Oroville, North Forebay. So we got the calm winds to the south, as mentioned. Chico, you got the fairly calm winds as well. Sunny skies this morning. We take you out to Highway 99 at Neal Road. Looks like you just got the regular traffic going on. Also the calm winds on Highway 99. Sundial Bridge Drive, unfortunately, we can't see the trees, most likely moving in the wind. But yes, we do have some windy conditions this morning for the north end of the valley, in particular around the Redding area. Take a look at Crescent City. Now, the winds will probably be picking up here later today or even later this morning. But you can see it doesn't look too terribly windy this morning. I'm trying to look closely to see if I can see the camera shaking in the wind at all. And it doesn't look like it is. So that's good news. But there is a hazardous seas warning for today and tomorrow off the coast. Just kind of keep that in mind. Taking a look at Soda Ridge here, and the camera kind of moves around. So, earlier it was a nice shot of Mount Shasta. Now it's not. Yeah. kind of luck of the draw, I guess. But this, I love this shot. This is great. This is out looking over in Scott Valley. In particular, you can kind of see Fort Jones and just the beautiful terrain. That valley, the Scott Valley in there, of course, surrounded by the mountains here. Just a beautiful shot there of Fort Jones. All right, that is a look at, again, your forecast. Let's take a look at our deeper dive forecast. And as you know, Coffee with Krueger is made possible by Wind River Resort and Casino. At Wind River Resort and Casino, enjoy friendly service, a wide variety of specials and promotions, plus all of your favorite slots and table games. Okay, so we take a look at our current conditions out there right now, as mentioned. Again, we're looking at those gusty winds right now in the valley. So that's why the north and west side, look at the kind of the oranges here. That's the warmer temperatures and also an indication of where the strongest winds are, north and west of I-5. But look how you can see it's cooler, 61 for Chico, 58 degrees for Oroville. Much, much calmer winds there. 40s, 50s for the higher elevations, no 30s. So it's not too terribly cold in the mountains, and we got mid to upper 40s right now along the coast. So no big changes this week. What we expect today, pretty much what we expect the entire week. Now I do expect 100 degrees, give or take, for the valley all week long. 80s in the mountains and inland. And really, when I say that, it's going to be northeast of the valley, mid-80s, give or take, even some upper 70s. But for Trinity County, inland, you're actually going to be more like the 90s for your daytime highs. And then 60s on the coast, slight chance for those mountain showers and thunderstorms here by the end of the weekend, this upcoming weekend and early next week. So there's the big ridge of high pressure right here. That's going to stay put. This area of low pressure right here will slowly nudge eastward over the next few days, but with high pressure to our west, low pressure to our south, that's what's going to give us those strong north winds today and tomorrow. So as we take a look at our fire weather forecast here, you can see starting off with the winds. Yeah, this morning they are gusty. We saw that on the north and west side of the valley. To the south, much calmer winds. So we look at our forecast for today. We take you around midday. We're actually seeing the winds subside a little bit here through the afternoon, but we're still seeing those gusts, especially for the north, say Reading, Red Bluff northward, over 20 miles per hour. By the way, look at the coast. You're looking at 20, 25 miles an hour, but just not as bad elsewhere. Okay, now we're going to take into this afternoon and evening. Still a little gusty for the north end of the valley, still gusty for the coast. And you'll notice here some pretty strong winds here to the north into Siskiyou County, Modoc County as well. Now tomorrow morning, look at the valley. Still gusty there. Not as windy for the coast, by the way, tomorrow morning. Tomorrow afternoon, now we're approaching 25, 30 miles an hour, 20 to 25 miles an hour along the coast. This here, I wouldn't be surprised if the National Weather Service extended the red flag warning into tomorrow. Again, it's going to be very dry. Look at the winds. Look at the gusts. And we do expect to see some pretty gusty winds to the north and east as well. Now you can see here as we go into 8 a.m., look at this. Still gusty winds approaching 30 mile an hour gusts. Still a little gusty along the coast as well. And then Wednesday afternoon, they subside a little bit here, but still a little gusty and still gusty along the coast. So those winds will continue to be a factor here over the next several days. Now we look at the fire weather risk along with humidity. That's the numbers here, the humidity, right? So we're in the single digits humidity-wise today. Temperatures near 100 in most cases for the valley. As a result, high fire weather risk for your Monday. Let's take a look at Tuesday. Tuesday morning, we saw the winds are pretty gusty, so we're already still moderate fire weather risk tomorrow morning. Tomorrow afternoon, a little bit more widespread with that high fire weather risk here for the valley. We're beginning to see less in the way of greens and some more yellow, so we're getting at least into the low to moderate range here for the higher elevations. Take you into your Wednesday morning, kind of some deep yellows in there to start off the day on Wednesday, so that's putting us in the moderate to even close to high range. So through the afternoon, we've got that high fire weather risk. You'll notice that the areas of orange are not quite as widespread, so we may see slightly improving conditions for Wednesday afternoon, but still single digits and low teens for those relative humidity levels in the valley. And you can still also see some yellows painted in there for some of the higher elevations. So we just need to be mindful of the fact that we still have some moderate to high fire weather risk over the next several days. Now the temperatures, as mentioned, it's going to be pretty hot, so no big surprises that we are expecting to see warmer than normal conditions. Now that we're through and into June, here's a footprint of what May looked like, at least in Reading. Very interesting month. A couple of things to take note. Number one, look at the big roller coaster ride. that we did see for the month of May. We varied anywhere from 63, which is the lowest temperature on the 12th, to as high as 106 degrees on May 30th, which actually broke a record by 1 degree. But also what's interesting is the first time Redding saw 90 degrees this year was May 1st. That's how we started the month of May. But then you see how temperatures quickly dropped, right? We wrapped up the month with our first triple-digit reading. In fact, May 30th, where we also broke that record. And we kept it that way on the 31st. And then going into June, it dropped back down to the 90s. But you get the idea. Very interesting month. And, you know, when we start getting into these hot weeks now, it's getting hot. And it's going to stay consistently hot. I'm seeing comments already. Well, so much for spring. We didn't even get a spring. Well, again, I want to take you back here. I'm going to take you back to the month of May. We did. We did actually see a spring. Look at these temperatures. Very mild for the most part. We didn't see a lot of 90s through the month of May. Again, just that the 1st, another little spike here for the 9th and 10th, and then another little spike there on the 20th, 21st, and then it was really toward the end of the month that we started to kind of warm things up. But really, generally in the 70s and 80s through a majority of the month of May. It wasn't really until the last week of May that it really started to kind of heat up. So we did get a spring, but now that summer's here, you kind of tend to forget that because it's getting hot. So we've got the high pressure to our west, low pressure to our south. That's the gusty north wind that we're seeing here today, tomorrow, and even Wednesday. So this ridge of high pressure, it's staying put all week long. This area of low pressure will slowly dive down to the south and then shift off to the east as we go through the week. By Wednesday, still a bit of that north breeze. Now, the thing is, this low pressure system is moving on out. But with this high pressure off to our west, it's still a bit of a classic setup for at least some breezy north winds to kind of come on the back side of that, or on the front side of that area of high pressure. So we may still be a little breezy here for your Thursday, Friday, but I think the strongest wind's going to be today, and then they'll slowly get weaker most likely, but still gusty for Tuesday and Wednesday. Then as we go into the weekend, into early next week, that ridge of high pressure begins to build into our region, and it will warm back up again. So yes, say hello to summer. But what's interesting, think about it, meteorological summer was yesterday. That's when it started. Now, the summer that we're used to calling the first day of summer, which is the summer solstice, that's not until June 20th. So, but we are going into summer, and it certainly is going to feel like it. Now, you can see the daytime highs through this week are going to be hovering around 100, close to 100 degrees here through Friday. There's that spike as that high pressure builds in, right? And then they start to drop again going to Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. But keep in mind, the average high this time of the year is still only in the upper 80s. So we're going to be well above that. Lakes are still very healthy. Look at this, finally up to 100% capacity. I mean, they probably need to start, if they haven't already, need to start thinking about releasing some of that water from the lake because it just continues to rise. Now we take a look at the wave heights. See this? We're seeing a lot of oranges and reds on the map here. So still very high wave heights for the next couple of days. So today, there is a hazardous seas warning for today and tomorrow. North winds, they're strongest this morning. They should start to subside a little bit here from the north at about 25 to 35 knots. Okay, so here's your forecast for Trinity County. And there you can see those 90s for most of us. You head south of 299 in the 80s in many spots here, but places like Hayfork, about 95 degrees, but 90 in Ruth, 83 for Mad River. Let's take you out to the north coast, southern Humboldt County, where we've got low to mid 80s from Miranda down to Garberville, 76 in Red Crest, Honeydew about 78, not bad in Shelter Cove for sunny skies and a high of 67. Out towards Ferndale, 66, 68 in Fortuna and Rio Dell, and it looks like Hydesville, a high of about 70 degrees. Look for a high of 76 for Blue Lake, 64 degrees that is for Eureka, and it is much warmer inlet Hoopa, about 94 degrees, and 95 degrees in Willow Creek. 88 degrees in Orleans, 79 degrees for Gas Key, Smith River 82, but 66 out in Crescent City, and Oric about 71 degrees. Your Siskiyou County neighborhood forecast, you can see along Highway 96, we got temperatures in the low to mid 80s, low 80s for the I-5 corridor. And taking a look at Scott Valley, low 80s for the most part today. It warms up a little bit by the end of the week, upper 80s to low 90s Friday, Saturday. And look at this, by Sunday, I have included that chance for a stray shower or thunderstorm. This is going to change, and I may be taking that out or keeping it in, but it looks like as of right now, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday of next week, we can see that potential for some of those mountain thunderstorms. All right, there you see about 79 degrees for Newell, 80 degrees for Alturas today, 78 degrees for California Pines, and also that chance for showers, thunderstorms on Sunday. That's also the case anywhere you go in the eastern mountains, with the exception of some of the foothills like Paradise, most likely steering clear of those thunderstorms. But there you can see for Bernie, yes. Now, Bernie, you're in the mid-80s through Thursday, upper 80s Friday, low 90s by the weekend. We take you down to the south here, out towards Lake Almanor and Lassen Park. All right, there's that chance on Sunday. Otherwise, Lassen Park, you're in the upper 60s, low 70s, though, by Friday, mid-70s by Saturday and Sunday. To the south, Paradise, as mentioned, I don't have any thunderstorms for you on Sunday, but Susanville, sure, you could see that potential on Sunday. But again, we're still a long ways out. That may change. Temperatures are pretty hot in the valley, but we're 98 for Los Molinos. You can see as you head southward, temperatures not quite as hot, but still about 93 degrees for Gridley, and Oroville, about 94 degrees. All right, here's your 7-day forecast for Chico. Temperatures generally in the upper 90s, mid to upper 90s through Friday, and then we could see some triple-digit heat by Saturday and Sunday. Up to the north, 94 degrees for Lakehead and Whiskeytown. We're going to be kind of just lingering and hovering around 99 to 100 degrees here for the city of Shasta Lake, all the way down to Cottonwood for that daytime high today. Let's take a look at your 7-day forecast for Redding. And again, we're just flirting with that triple-digit reading today, and really making it most likely there today, and really just 99 to 100 basically for Tuesday through Friday, and then it starts to kind of warm up again by the weekend. 103 Saturday and 105 on Sunday. All right, so it is warming up out there, and it is definitely going to be a hot day. All right, well, that is your forecast, folks. Your Monday. Just get ready for some heat. Summer is pretty much here. I think we can pretty much say that, you know, the meteorological summer, which is officially June 1st, I think you can call it summer. I say summer's here. It certainly feels like it, and I don't see any major relief anytime soon at this point. Checking in with some of you this morning here, we've got Curtis Brown saying the winds started about a little after midnight last night. Woke him up. Yeah, the winds did get a little gusty out there. And we've got Krista saying, yep, a little after midnight, had to roll up the shade outside our window to keep from banging on the house. Yeah, so the winds certainly gusty out there this morning. They will continue through the morning hours, but I do expect them to subside as we take you into the afternoon and evening, but still a little gusty at times throughout the day. So there you go. All right, folks, that is going to do it for us for today. What do you say we leave you with a couple of great cameras here? And this one, I love Soda Ridge. Looks like the crags out there in the distance, absolutely gorgeous, and some small community down there at the bottom of your screen. In the meantime, have yourselves a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow morning on Coffee with Krueger at 6:30. Have a great day.